Let's begin by saying theology is not rocket science. Okay? It's the way we talk about God. Okay. That's what the word means. Theos meaning God, and logos meaning talking about, having a conversation about God. And more or less, us talking about God. But the whole ethos of the beginning part of John's gospel, for example, is that God is talking to us. So it should be pretty easy to join in that conversation. And how is God talking to us? The core message of the incarnation of God in Jesus is that the divine conversation, the logos, is here, is among us, is in us, and is in all of creation. And not only over there in some far off realm, but here. And the Passion Translation uses the phrase, the living expression. What an interesting choice of phrase. So here's the context. In the beginning, the living expression was already there. And the living expression was with God, yet fully God. They were together face to face in the very beginning. And through his creative inspiration, the living expression made all things. For nothing has existence apart from him. A fountain of life was in him, and his life is light for all humanity. And this light never fails to shine through darkness, light that darkness could not overcome. Suddenly a man who appeared, who was sent from God, a messenger named John, for he came as a witness to point the way to the light of life and to help everyone believe. John was not that light, but he came to show us who is. For he was merely a messenger to speak the truth about the light, for the perfect light of truth was coming into the world and shine upon everyone. He entered into the world he created, yet the world was unaware. He came to the people he created, to those who should have received him, but they did not recognize him. But those who embraced him and took hold of his name, he gave authority to become children of God. He was not born by the joining of human parents or from natural means or man's desire, but he was born of God. And so the living expression became a man and lived among us. We gazed on his glory, the glory of the one and only, who came from the Father, overflowing with tender mercy and truth. It's great, isn't it? And challenging to hear those very, very familiar words in such a radically transformed way. It's a subtly nuanced concept of God. The important thing to get at here is God is not living over there, but God is right here in our midst. And many indigenous religions have largely understood this perspective, and so do many parts of the Bible. Think of Psalm 98. Just think of what's being said here underneath the text. Let the sea resound and everything in it, the world and all who live in it. Let the rivers clap their hands. Let the mountains sing together for joy. So this is a poetic description of creation responding to its creator, like the birds having adorned chorus, or animals wagging tails and leaping up from the deeps. Look at Daniel 3 or Psalm 104, Psalm 148, Job 12, and a lot of Job 38 to 39, when God is just praising a whole menagerie of animals and elements for their inherently available wisdom. The pent-up sea, the wild ass, the ostrich's wing. It reminds us humans that we are part of something bigger than us, a overarching ecosystem. And creation offers lessons in all directions. Just a verse in Job 39. Is it by your wisdom, God asked Job, and us, of course, by extension, is it by your wisdom that the hawk soars and spreads its wings to the south? And the answer is no. No, it's not our wisdom. No, we have no idea. So God is not bound by our commonly held presupposition that humans are the center of everything. Creation did not actually demand or need Jesus, or us for that matter, to confer additional sacredness upon it. From the first moment of the Big Bang, everything explodes into something. Nothing explodes into something. Nature is revealing the glory and goodness of the divine presence. It's gift. It's the gift of God. The heavens declare the glory of the Lord. Night after night, the sky pours forth speech. Eye has not seen, nor tongue told, nor has it entered into the heart of man to understand these things. This is God. This is God, and this is God's creation. And we're part of this. And Jesus came to live in the midst and to enjoy life in all its natural variations and thus be our model and exemplar. Jesus is the gift that honors the gift, we might say. So it is strange, and I want you to think about this, that so many Christians today will limit God's providential care to humans, and very few humans at that, just the special ones. And how different are we in that respect to Jesus, who extended divine generosity to sparrows or lilies or ravens or donkeys or the grass of the field, Luke 12, or even the hairs on your head. God is not stingy. But what stinginess on our side made us limit God's concern, our eternal concern, to just ourselves and our group? We are the special chosen ones, and everything else. How can we imagine God as caring about us if God does not care about everything else too? If God chooses and doles out care, we're always insecure and unsure whether we got the golden ticket or not, whether we're part of the recipients of that grace. But once we become aware that the whole world is gift, which is the goodness of God, which is the lesson of Genesis 1. Once we become aware of the generous, creative presence that exists in all things by their very nature, then we can honor the indwelling Spirit as the inner source of all dignity and worthiness. Dignity is not doled out to the supposedly worthy. This is not a worthiness contest. This is the glory of God in our midst. And it grounds the inherent worthiness of things in their very nature and existence. This person is worthy because this person is created in the image of God. But this land is sacred because this universe is sacred because it is made. It is created. We're part of the creation of God. The true and essential work of faith is to begin to see this, is to recognize and to recover the divine image in everything. It is to mirror things correctly and deeply and fully until all things know who they are. A mirror, by its nature, reflects impartially or equally, effortlessly, spontaneously, endlessly. It doesn't produce the image. It doesn't filter the image according to its own perceptions or preferences. Authentic mirroring can only call forth what is already there. It's a little bit like the way that Rob Bell talked about evangelism. He said the idea of spreading the good news about God. Missions is less about the transportation of God from one place to another and more about the identification of a God who is already there. You see God where others don't, and then you point him out. So the issue isn't so much taking Jesus to people who don't have him, but going to a place and pointing out to the people the creative, life-giving God who is already present in their midst. Teaching eyes to see. Let those who have ears to hear, let them hear what I'm saying. The Spirit is saying to the churches, I need to have a new perception, there's a new dignity about the whole of creation, the whole of it, the whole of it. We're part of that. God is already present. And soon we're arriving at Christmas, and there's always the tendency to overplay the excitement of the baby with the advent of the strange and the wonderful and the magical newness of it all, and underplay the other side of that paradox, that this living expression was fully God from the very beginning, as we read in John chapter 1, completely and utterly and eternally present. But what a paradox. But like all paradoxes, the moment God is figured out with nice, neat lines and definitions, we are no longer dealing with God. And yet we can still make this claim. Theology is not rocket science. It's ultimately, it is not to be figured out and defined. It is to be enjoyed and experienced. And the wonder of life waits to be realized. Amen. Let's talk about it.